how long have you been practicing as an architect, and what motivated you to pursue this profession?
Well, I actually passed from JJ College of Architecture in 1976, and there were about few years where I wanted to take good experience with the national and international architects, and that's what really I did. Working with Gerz Engineering, Zurich, doing projects across the world, knowing the technology, knowing the architectural profession as such, and that really motivated me to start my practice again in 1985. So those many years I have been practicing now, and I am glad I've enjoyed this profession. As a matter of fact, my brother was an electrical contractor, and from my childhood I used to move out with him to various projects in and around in Mumbai, also in industries as well as commercial and residential. And that actually inspired me because I met so many beautiful architects those days, including Sir Charles Correa. And then I developed that ambition that one day I should be able to create something in my lovely country. Yeah.
So, what is your design philosophy or approach while tackling architectural projects?
I think the design philosophy emerges from 2, 3 factors. One is the location, where you are, which country you are in, which is the place that you are in, what are the, traditional effects of that particular place, the culture of the place, and what you exactly want to do. What is the subject like? Is it the airport? Is it the railway station? Is it, any kind of public building or a private building or a commercial thing happening, or a kind of a villa or something. So it will all depend on that. But when you want to evolve a philosophy, I believe that it has to have a personal touch. And this personal touch, I believe it comes from within. Whenever the subject is given to you, most of the times the thing happens from within. And, we want to try and do it through our own concepts or ideas, as I always say. And then flavor it up with the technology and probably try and give something new and something the best thing. Because every time the customer drops in the office, he is going to tell you that, you have to deliver me something that is never ever existed in the past. That is how we define creativity. So every time people are looking out for creativity, probably the same subject and a different location and a different time and the different approach can create something that a customer is looking out for.
So, how do you approach balancing the functional and aesthetic aspects of a project?
Yeah, any creation that you do, I think basically it has to function. And so I always say that the good design is the one which is functionally the fittest. But then along with the function comes the forms. The function is a basic thing. As I always say, that the function network can be done by engineers and can probably be done by somebody who is, regularly into it. So the functional network is easily possible. But how do you convert this network into aesthetical elements? Maybe it is a facade that we are talking about. Maybe the internal spaces which can be made interesting. Maybe we can probably use certain other elements like water and light and so many things to make it more vibrant and more lively, and more, I would say, flowing within it. Like I always say that, like in basic design, we learned that there are 3 types of rhythm. One is the repetitive rhythm, wherein, you repeat one thing and it starts looking good, So, or it is a flowing rhythm, like I always say that, everything in nature actually flows from, so whether it is river, whether it is water body, whether it is clouds or the winds, they are all flowing. Can we create buildings that flow from one end to the other end and create that kind of a rhythm, so it becomes very, very interesting and aesthetically pleasing? So that is what it is. Aesthetics is the main thing. Unless and until you put in aesthetics along with proper functional thing, that blend is very important. And I would always imagine that if this project or this problem was given to God, what He would do. And that is something if I can imagine and I can bring out those kind of feelings on paper, I think that is what is my approach, at least for architecture.
Wonderful. So, in today's world, sustainability is a crucial aspect of architecture. How do you incorporate sustainability and eco-friendly practices in your designs?
Well, today's world is all about eco-friendly practices, or we are talking about green, because we are definitely, the nature is changing around us. We talked about, in the morning, we talked about things happening around us and what is going to be the future if we keep continuing doing this. So we need to actually go for sustainable kind of construction using basically the natural materials. Like they say that the food actually belongs to the place. Like in India, at least when we travel for about 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers, the food habits change, the language change, everything changes, and I think it is based on the natural thing happening. So we can't have the Western food in India, it is not going to help you out. So it is the same way, if we are creating something which we need to, even think of it for many years. It's like, our hills and our oceans and all that. If God can create that, again, coming to the God factor, why not create something, all our living spaces, which actually is a part of the nature and it can stay there for long. If that can be the approach, then of course, as we say, carbon emission or all those things that are going to spoil the nature itself will probably not happen, and there will be a proper cycle. So that kind of approach should be there, where we can recycle, where we can reuse, all kinds of wastes can be treated again and reused. So if that kind of approach is there in even your architectural design, I'm sure many issues relating to the biodiversity or whatever it is can be resolved, and we can still have a very sustainable environment that we are living in today.
So what are some of the current architectural trends or innovations that you find particularly exciting or relevant to your style of working?
Well, it's a very interesting question, basically because today is a world of innovation. As I said, customer wanted something which never ever existed in the past, and we are going very close to that particular phenomena. Where there is more of a flowing rhythm, there is more of waves, there are more curves rather than simple straight lines, because straight lines are designed by man. I mean, the God never created straight lines. So can we go very close to what God would have created? And that gives us various kinds of forms. And earlier probably we never dared into all those things, basically because there was no technological support. So now we are talking about biomimicry, we are talking about parametric architecture, and we are talking about various things which is not really rigid, verticals and horizontals. We are talking about maybe circles, maybe curves, maybe mixed curves, and whatnot, and these are the things. And when we are talking about now the AI part of it, and the AI will again kind of give a reformation, and it is really going to be very, very interesting journey here on, according to me, because we are not going to talk about what we learned at our institutes. We are going to actually keep studying what's happening, what are the challenges of tomorrow, because they are going to really change the whole thing happening. Nobody would have thought that there will be an instrument which will move in the skies and probably record and give photographs to us and probably make drawings for us as well. So all maybe a walkthrough, when we can have through all the spaces which we are imagining. So these are certain things which are kind of challenges, but at the same time it is opening gates for the new ideas and new things to be created.
So how do you stay updated with the latest advancement and trends in architecture?
Well, advancement in trends actually, to my knowledge, happens individually. It all depends on, and when the world is coming so closer, to today we can just Google out things and we can find out what's happening in Hong Kong and Singapore, or for that matter, what is happening in Australia and other places, and can we replicate that here in our country? So these will actually start a trend. A trend means what? I mean, it is a new idea that you bring in, you popularize that idea. If the idea is really very good, if the concept is really very good and it is useful, it is functional, it is aesthetically pleasing, I am sure it is going to create a trend. So you can create the trend yourself, or you can develop a trend that is happening across the world through the Googles and probably try to create a new trend. I think that is something which, should be the flow of activities for any architect today.
So how do you believe architecture can positively impact the community
Well, architecture have been the what I would say a catalyst in the growth of a community, and probably what we call it as a standard of living. You know, as earlier we were staying in let's say farms or in the hilly areas, the caves. We came out from there and we developed our lifestyles, and surprisingly now the lifestyle factor is again changing. The Western people, they are liking the Eastern habits, the Easterns are liking the Western habits, and all this have to be observed by the architects, because they will have to actually build the community for tomorrow. I always say that when you build a space in the form of a building or maybe a landscape or maybe whatever interiors, we actually design it for minimum of 25 to 30 years ahead. So that means we are trying to build a community which is going to be there for the next 30 to 60 years. Now, how do we define that community? Now, to define that community, I think we need to study our own history. We need to study what is happening around in the world, and we need to have our own philosophy and probably a visual kind of, what you call sense to sort of grasp what could be the progress of the community, how it can be drafted out, what could be the pathways for that.
So what is your take on steel as a material in infrastructure and buildings in the future?
Well, coming back to steel as a material, basically it's a most versatile material, a very monolithic one, that is its basic property. And another thing is it can be twisted to all our needs, all our forms very easily, effectively. And if we, there were certain discussions about its fire resistivity and things like that. But I believe the technology would definitely come out with solutions wherein we can treat the steel itself when we manufacture the steel. And I'm sure that these kind of lacunas they are there at the moment, we will be able to resolve them. And more mathematics are getting worked over, even in its carbon emission. I think in the morning we saw some presentation where he showed the figures, where he showed the figures, he related it to the consumption of steel, and we are trying to bring that consumption of steel by at least 30, 40, 50% down the line, and we are increasing the quality of steel. I mean, yesterday we were discussing about improving the denseness of the steel so that it can be more useful with the thinner things, and then of course this will add on to not only to the beauty but to the workability of the steel itself. So the steel, I believe, is the most genius and most useful material, and probably, as somebody said, it's not only steel but the metals in general, maybe aluminium and maybe another composites that we will get. Who knows? I mean, we can combine various metals, and these things tomorrow are going to be more useful than the non-monolithic materials like concrete, where it is actually combination of so many materials put together. So coefficients are going to be different. There are going to be problems in terms of temperature variations and things like that. The porosity also is a big problem, whereas steel is a dense material, and therefore all these issues are not at all there. And as you know, it is a tensile. Taking tensile strength, it has got a very big tensile strength. Now, these are some of the qualities of the steel. The technology is developing, and if we can come out with solutions where whatever structures that we want to build are going to be possible in steel alone, or as I said, maybe some kind of collaborations with the other metals alone, and we can develop them into aesthetically pleasing building for the upcoming challenges of the communities.
Is there a particular type of project which you would like to work on, which you never worked on before?
Yeah, again, nice question. I've been working on industries. Initially, I worked on 5-star and luxury hotels, not only in India but abroad. And I'm still waiting for a new challenging hotel project to come. Of course, I did couple of small hospital projects also. But then, I feel that the multi-speciality hospital is my dream, and if that comes through, I'll be very happy. As long as the hotel part is concerned, I think now, there is a demand that I should be working in a country like Madagascar, where they want to set up a World Trade Center and Aero City. So I think for the next few years, it's going to be my dream that these buildings come up. and people land on the airport of the Madagascar, they would look into the AeroCity designed by me. And as you know, AeroCity is full of hotels. So that is something which I would love to do. And of course, the towering, World Trade Center, where the whole world is always going to be there, and that is my dream. So it is not only India. I mean, it will make the India name big.
One final question. How do you foresee the architectural fraternity moving in the next 10 years?
Well, I believe the architect fraternity has, as I always say, that they have more than 25 to 30 years ahead, a lot of opportunities and lot of challenges as compared to when I graduated. I was talking in various podiums about, because the whole world today is in South Asia for development. Most of the European Americans have already developed. There are hardly any opportunities for development. Whereas there are tremendous opportunity for growing countries like India. There would be countries around India which are Bangladesh and Pakistan. There are countries like Vietnam and Middle East. Now all these are countries, and those days we had to actually visit the sites to execute the work. Now because of the computerization and digitization, it is possible to sit in your own office wherever it is and still execute projects across the world. So if the architect's mindset is prepared for all this, and if they have all the tools and technologies which are required for these things, I am sure the architect fraternity has a big pathway to go. And the softwares, again, we talk about various softwares coming up. If the architects pick up these softwares, I am sure the flavor, these softwares will flavor their mindsets and their concepts, the capacity to emerge with certain new ideas, and they will create something which never ever existed in the world.